Welcome to Labels Don't Define Us, the podcast where we share real stories of strength, healing, and hope beyond mental health diagnoses. I'm your host, Sarah, and today's episode is one that so many people will connect with: anxiety, living with the mind on overdrive. If you've ever felt your heart race for no reason, replayed a conversation in your head 100 times, or worried about things that haven't even happened, you're not alone. Anxiety affects more than 300 million people worldwide, and yet it's still one of the most misunderstood experiences in mental health. In this episode, we'll explore how people manage high-functioning anxiety, ways to turn worry into awareness, and the real talk about panic, fear, and resilience. And later here in the show, I'll be joined by our guest, Paul, who will share his journey of living with anxiety and how he's found calm in the chaos. Let's start by breaking down what we mean by high-functioning anxiety. Many people picture anxiety as someone who can't get out of bed or is visibly panicked, but that's not always the case. High-functioning anxiety can look like always being busy to avoid feeling anxious, over-preparing for every little thing, being the perfect employee, friend, or partner, all while silently struggling inside. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, ADA, about 19% of adults in the U.S. experience an anxiety disorder each year. But what's striking is that a large portion of these individuals are high achievers, people who appear calm, organized, and confident, even though they're battling constant self-doubt and overthinking. It's like having your foot on the gas pedal all the time. Your mind never quite stops racing. Turning worry into awareness. Now, let's talk about how to transform that worry into something more helpful: awareness. Here are some proven techniques that mental health professionals recommend. Grounding through the 5-4-3-2-1 method. When anxiety hits, focus on your senses. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This technique brings you back to the present moment. Journaling with intention. Instead of listing worries, try reframing your thoughts. What can I control right now, and what can I let go of? Breath work. Try the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale slowly for 8. It signals your brain that you're safe. Movement. Research shows that just 20 minutes of moderate exercise a day can reduce anxiety symptoms by up to 30% because it lowers cortisol and releases endorphins. Digital boundaries. Limiting social media time has been linked to lower anxiety and better sleep, according to a 2023 Harvard study. Anxiety often lives in our anticipation of the future, but awareness brings us back to now, the only moment we truly have control over. Today, I'm so grateful to welcome Paul, who's here to share his personal story of living with anxiety and how he's turned what once felt like chaos into a path of resilience and self-discovery.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I've dealt with anxiety since my teenage years. Back then, I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was nervous all the time. My heart would race during social events, and I'd lie awake at night replaying everything I said that day.
That's something so many listeners can relate to, that feeling of always being on alert. How did you start to understand what was really going on?
In my 20s, I finally saw a therapist who helped me recognize it was anxiety, not weakness. I started therapy and learned techniques like mindfulness and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, to challenge my thought patterns. One big breakthrough was realizing that anxiety isn't the enemy, it's my body trying to protect me.
That's a really powerful reframe, turning anxiety from a villain into a kind of messenger. What's life like for you today?
Much calmer. I still have anxious days, but I manage them better. I meditate every morning for 10 minutes, I run 3 times a week, and I've learned to be open about my anxiety instead of hiding it. The more I talk about it, the lighter it feels.
That's such a great message, that sharing our struggles doesn't make us weak, it makes us human. Now, let's talk about panic and fear, the moments when anxiety peaks. Panic attacks can feel terrifying. Rapid heartbeat, dizziness, chest tightness, or even feeling detached from reality. But here's something many people don't realize. Panic attacks are not dangerous. They're intense, yes, but temporary. They pass, and knowing that can take away some of their power. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, nearly 1 in 4 people will experience a panic attack at some point in their lives. But what determines resilience isn't whether we have panic, it's how we respond afterward. Resilience doesn't mean never feeling fear. It means building tools that help us come back to ourselves faster each time. Some people find relief through therapy, others through mindfulness apps, support groups, or even nature walks. What matters most is consistency, creating small, daily rituals that calm your nervous system before anxiety takes over. Hope and healing. Anxiety doesn't have to control your story. In fact, some of the most creative, empathetic, and successful people in the world live with anxiety, from writers to teachers to entrepreneurs. There's beauty in a sensitive mind. It notices details others miss, it cares deeply, and it wants to make the world a little safer. That sensitivity is not your flaw, it's your gift. As Paul reminded us, anxiety doesn't define you. It's just one part of your human experience, and it's possible to live a full, joyful, peaceful life, even with a mind that sometimes races ahead. As we begin to wrap up today's episode, I want to spend some extra time talking about hope, because anxiety often tries to convince us that there isn't any. It tells us, you'll always feel this way. It whispers, you can't handle it. But that's not true. Anxiety might make the world feel smaller for a while, but healing is absolutely possible, and it often starts in the smallest, simplest moments. Healing starts with self-compassion. One of the most important truths about recovery from anxiety is that you can't hate yourself into healing. You can only love yourself there. Studies from the University of Texas show that self-compassion reduces anxiety and depression more effectively than self-criticism ever could. When we replace "what's wrong with me" with "I'm doing my best," our brain literally begins to calm down. Here's something you can try right now. Place your hand on your heart and tell yourself, "I'm safe, I'm human, I'm learning to be gentle with myself." That tiny act of kindness rewires your nervous system to feel grounded again. It's also important to remember that healing isn't a straight path. Some days will feel calm and clear, others might bring setbacks or panic. That doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. Think of anxiety like waves in the ocean. Some days the tide is high and rough, others it's still and peaceful. But no matter what the waves are doing, you're still the ocean. You're bigger than the anxious thoughts passing through you. The healing process is about learning to surf those waves, not to make them disappear, but to move with them gracefully. Another powerful part of healing is connection. Anxiety loves isolation. It convinces you that no one will understand, that you're too much, too sensitive, too complicated. But connection does the opposite. It reminds you that you're not alone. In fact, research from the National Institute of Mental Health found that people who share their experiences of anxiety in safe, supportive environments, like therapy groups or even online communities, report higher levels of hope and faster recovery than those who struggle silently. Talking helps regulate our emotions. It turns anxiety from an invisible storm into something shared and understood. So if you've been struggling alone, maybe today can be the day you reach out to a friend, a counselor, or a support group. You don't need to have the perfect words. A simple, "I've been having a hard time lately," is enough. Now, let's talk about some daily tools for cultivating hope, even on tough days. Gratitude journaling. Write down 3 things that went right today, no matter how small. Gratitude rewires the brain's focus away from fear and toward safety. Create a calm corner. Have a small space in your home that feels peaceful, maybe a cozy chair, soft lighting, and your favorite scent. This becomes your safe zone when your mind starts racing. Affirmations that speak truth. Try phrases like, "This feeling will pass," "I've handled hard things before," "I am learning to trust myself." Even if you don't believe them yet, repeating them gently trains your brain to feel safe again. Find your calm rhythm. Whether it's a walk, painting, music, or prayer, anything that helps you slow down your nervous system becomes part of your healing toolbox. Here's something truly beautiful. Hope itself is healing. According to studies from Stanford University, when people consciously cultivate hope through visualization, gratitude, or community, they experience measurable decreases in anxiety symptoms. Their heart rate lowers, their sleep improves, and their ability to cope with stress increases. Hope isn't naive optimism. It's the quiet, steady belief that change is possible, that who you are today doesn't have to be who you are forever. I'll be honest, I've had my own anxious days, the kind where it feels like your thoughts won't stop running circles around you. But I've learned something powerful through every guest and every story we've shared here on Labels Don't Define Us. Healing doesn't happen because the anxiety disappears. It happens because we start believing we can live well even when it's there. So if you're listening right now and your mind feels heavy, I want you to know this. You are not broken. You're becoming. You're learning new ways to be kind to yourself, to breathe through the noise, and to remember that peace isn't the absence of anxiety. It's learning to be okay even when anxiety visits. Every anxious heart has a story, and yours is still unfolding. Every small step toward calm, every deep breath, every moment of courage counts. You are not your panic. You are not your fear. You are the strength that rises after it. You are proof that hope is stronger than anxiety. Thank you for joining me today on Labels Don't Define Us. I hope today's conversation helped you feel seen, supported, and reminded that you are so much more than your anxiety. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need a little encouragement today. And remember, your labels don't define you. Your strength, your story, and your courage do. Thank you for listening to the Labels Don't Define Us podcast, and welcome back next Monday for a new episode.